ন্যাশনাল মুভমেন্ট 5 1930 টু 1935 নভেম্বর 1930 থেকে ফার্স্ট রাউন্ড টেবিল কনফারেন্স হয়েছিল। মার্চ 1931 গান্ধী আরভিন প্যাক্ট, মার্চ 1931 কারাচি সেশন, সেপ্টেম্বর 1931 সেকেন্ড রাউন্ড টেবিল কনফারেন্স, জানুয়ারি 1932 to 34 রিজামশন অফ সিডিএম মানে সিভিল ডিসঅবিডিয়েন্স মুভমেন্ট ফেজ 2, অগস্ট 1932 কমিউনাল বা ম্যাকডোনাল্ড অ্যাওয়ার্ড, সেপ্টেম্বর 1932 পুনা প্যাক্ট, November 1932 third round table conference, August 1935 Government of India Act 1935. So round table conference, round table conferences 1930 to 32 were a series of meetings in 3 sessions called by the British government to consider the future constitution of India. The conference resulted from a review of the Government of India Act 1919 undertaken in 1927 by the Simon Commission, whose report was published in 1930. The conference was held in London. The result of these deliberations was the Government of India Act 1935 establishing a provincial autonomy and also had also a federal system that was never implemented. Round table, every party attending the conference would be equal. তারপর আসছে ফার্স্ট রাউন্ড টেবিল কনফারেন্স, November 1930 to January 1931. This was the first ever conference arranged between the British and the Indians as equals. Round table, chaired by the British Prime Minister Ramsay MacDonald, Labour Party. Congress and most business leaders boycotted first roundtable conferences as the civil disobedience movement was going on. Who attended? Muslim League, Muhammad Ali Jinnah, Muhammad Safi, Aga Khan, Muhammad Ali, Muhammad Jafrullah Khan, A.K. Fazul Haq. Hindu Mahasabha, B.S. Monje and M.R. Jayakar. Indian Liberal Party, Tej Bahadur Sapru, C.Y. Chintamani and Srinivasa Sastry. Later, Tej Bahadur Sapru acted as mediator between British government and Congress. Princes by princely states, Sikhs থেকে গেছিল সর্দার উজ্জ্বল সিং and the untouchable or depressed classes থেকে B.R. Ambedkar demanded a separate electorate for depressed class SC by ST. 16 delegates represented the 3 political parties of Britain. 57 political leaders from India representing all sets of Indian opinion except INC. Virtually every delegate reiterated that a constitutional discussion to which the Congress was not a party was meaningless. A wedding procession without the groom. ফার্স্ট রাউন্ড টেবিল কনফারেন্স যেটা ফেলিওর, নো রেজাল্ট বা নো আউটকাম। গান্ধী আরভিন প্যাক্ট, দিল্লি, যেটাকে দিল্লি প্যাক্টটা বলছে 1931। ব্রিটিশ গভর্নমেন্ট রিয়েলাইজ দ্য ইম্পর্টেন্স অফ দ্য কংগ্রেস ইন রাউন্ড টেবিল কনফারেন্স মিটিং। Tej Bahadur Sapru did the mediation of between government and Congress and asked the government to release political prisoners. On January 25, 1931, Gandhi and all other members of the CWC Congress Working Committee were released from the prison unconditionally. The Congress Working Committee CWC authorized Gandhi to initiate discussion with Viceroy. On 8 March 1931, Gandhi-Irwin Pact was signed after the discussions. Irwin agreed on immediate release of all political prisoners not convicted of violence, remission of all fines not yet collected, return of all lands not yet sold to third parties, lenient treatment to those government servants who had resigned, right to make salt in coastal villages for personal consumption, not for sale, right to peaceful and non-aggressive picketing, withdrawal of emergency ordinances. The Viceroy, however, turned down 2 of Gandhiji's demands: public inquiry into police excesses, commutations of Bhagat Singh and his comrade's death sentence to life sentence. Gandhi, on behalf of the Congress, agreed to suspend the civil disobedience movement to participate in the next roundtable conference. Karachi Congress session 1931. In March 1931, a special session of the Congress was held at Karachi to endorse the Gandhi-Irwin or Delhi Pact. presided by Iron Man Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. Two resolutions were adopted which made the sessions memorable on fundamental right or the National Economic Program. Resolution passed on fundamental right, universal franchisee, education, freedom of speech, press and economic policy. This was the first time the Congress spelled out what Swaraj would mean for the masses. The Karachi Resolution formed the basic political and economic platform of the Congress in later years. Second Roundtable Conference, September থেকে December 1931, Congress had agreed to attend the Second Roundtable Conference under the Gandhi-Irvine Pact or Delhi Pact. Mahatma Gandhi participated in the conference as the sole representative of the INC, but accompanied by Sarojini Naidu and also Madan Mohan Malabia. Gandhi claimed that the Congress alone represented political India, that the untouchables were Hindus and should not be treated as minority, and that there should be no separate electorates or separate special safeguards for Muslim or other minorities. These claims were rejected by other Indian participants, Dr. Bhimrao Ramji Ambedkar. No agreement could be reached on the demand of the complete independence, and on the communal question, Gandhi had to return India disappointed. Phase 2 of civil disobedience movement 1932 to 34. 1932 January. The civil disobedience movement was resumed as soon as Gandhiji left London. Government arrested Mahatma Gandhi on arrival in India. Sardar Patel was also arrested. Government reimposed the ban on the Congress party. তারপর আসছে কমিউনাল অ্যাওয়ার্ড বা ম্যাকডোনাল্ড অ্যাওয়ার্ড। দ্য কমিউনাল অ্যাওয়ার্ড ওয়াজ অ্যানাউন্সড বাই দ্য ব্রিটিশ প্রাইম মিনিস্টার র্যামসে ম্যাকডোনাল্ড on 16 August 1932. This was yet another expression of British policy of divide and rule. The Muslims, Sikhs and Christians had already been recognized as minorities. The communal award declared the depressed classes also to be the minorities and entitled them to separate electorates. Gandhi's reaction to communal award, the effort to separate the depressed classes from the rest of the Hindus by treating them as separate political entity was vehemently opposed by all nationalists. Gandhi saw the communal award as an attack on Indian unity and nationalism. Once the depressed classes were treated as separate political entity, he argued the struggle for the abolishing untouchability would get it undermined. He said that the separate electorates would ensure that the untouchables remain untouchables in perpetuity. He went on a fast until death in Yarda jail, Pune, to protest the award. Pune Pact. On 24th September 1932, an agreement was reached between Dr. Ambedkar and Gandhi, known as the Pune Pact, signed at Yarda Central Jail in Pune, India, and was signed by Madan Mohan Malabia and Ambedkar. Dr. Ambedkar agreed to Gandhi and gave up separate electorate. But on the following terms, seats reserved for the depressed class were increased from 71 according to communal award to 148 in the provincial legislature and 19% of the total in the central legislature. In every province, out of the educational grant, an adequate sum shall be earmarked for providing educational facilities to the members of the depressed class. The Pune Pact was accepted by the government as an amendment to the communal award. Third Roundtable Conference, November to December 1932. Only 46 delegates least attendance in all three. Congress did not take part in it. Civil disobedience movement was going on. Labour Party also did not attend. In 1933, the British government issued a white paper which became the basis for the enactment of the Government of India Act 1935. April 1934, Gandhi decided to withdraw the civil disobedience movement. CDM was totally successful. It demanded for Purna Swaraj, but got only government of not totally successful. It demanded for Purna Swaraj, but got only Government of India Act 1935. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. He was a jurist, a statesman, a social reformer, and a leader of the depressed classes. He was born in Mahar caste in Maho, MP. In 1891. He went for higher studies to England and America. He was the first graduate of Mahar caste. In fact, he was most learned of all India of all Indian in 20th century. In his writings, he always talked about equality, principle of justice, etc. UPSC aspirants must follow his principle. He signed Pune Pact with Gandhiji in 1932. From 1942 to 1946, he was in the Executive Council of the Governor General. He organized the Indian Labour Party, Scheduled Caste Federation, and People's Education Society. He was the chairman of the drafting committee of our constitution. He also piloted the Hindu Code through the Indian legislatures. From 1947 to 1951, he was a law minister in Nehru's cabinet, first law minister of India. Towards the end of his life, he embraced Buddhism. He died on 6 December 1956. Posthumous, he was awarded by Bharat Ratna in 1990. B.R. Ambedkar attended all three roundtable conferences. Government of India Act 1935. Government of India Act 1935 was passed on the basis of the reports of the Simon Commission, the outcome of the roundtable conferences. The white paper is issued by the British government in 1933. Features or provisions of the 1935 Act. Provisions for the establishment of All India Federation at the centre, consisting of the provinces of British India and princely states. It did not It did not come into existence since the princely state refused to give their consent for the union. Congress wanted democracy over monarchy of princely state, and this intention of the Congress was known to them. Also, if federation would have formed, then there would have been dominance of Congress, as British had occupied most of the Indian territory. Division of powers into three lists: federal list, provincial list, concurrent list. Introduction of diarchy at the center. The Governor General and his councillors administered the reserved subjects. The Council of Ministers were responsible for the transfer subject. Abolition of diarchy and the introduction of provincial autonomy in the provinces. Provincial legislatures of Bengal, Madras, Bombay, United Provinces, Bihar and Assam were made bicameral. The working of the provincial autonomy was not successful. The governors were not bound to accept the advice of the ministers. In reality, the real power in the provincial government was with the governor. But despite these drawbacks in the schemes, the Congress decided to take part in the elections to the provincial legislature with the consideration that it was an improvement over the previous acts. Provincial elections in 1937, INC swept to power in 8 provinces. Extension or continuation of the principle of separate electorates to Muslims, Sikhs, Europeans, Indian Christians, Anglo-Indians. Though depressed classes also got separate electorate as communal award, but Pune Pact nullified that. Establishment of a federal court at Delhi with a chief justice and 6 judges. Establishment of Reserve Bank of India RBI in the year 1935, recommended by Hilton Young Commission, who was getting recommendations from Dr. Ambedkar. Separation of Burma, now Myanmar, from India. Lord Wellington, 1931 to 36. The Second Roundtable Conference, 1931. Restarting of the Disobedience Movement, 1932. The Communal Award, 1932, and the Pune Pact. The Third Roundtable Conference, 1932. The Government of India Act, 1935. লর্ড উইলিংটনের তারা কী বলছে 1931 থেকে 36, the second roundtable conference 1931, restarting of the civil disobedience movement 1932, at the communal award 1932 and the Pune Pact, third roundtable conference 1932, at the Government of India Act 1935.